The voice recorder shook in my hands as a familiar voice came through the speaker, my husband's. Hey, beautiful, your husband is leaving on a business trip tomorrow. I could recognize that voice out of 1,000. Mike, my Mike, the man I had considered the most honest person in the world. And the second voice. My God, it wasn't Lily. It was a completely different woman, and her words made me clutch the edge of the table. Yes, darling, finally, just the two of us for 3 days. Rachel suspects nothing. You don't have to worry. I hit pause and tried to exhale. A lump formed in my throat, my hands trembled, and everything in front of my eyes blurred. Lily, my best friend from college, was sitting across from me, looking at me with such sympathy that I wanted to break down and cry. Rachel, she said softly, I'm so sorry. I accidentally overheard their conversation at a cafe a week ago. I thought for a long time about how to tell you and decided you'd better hear it yourself. I'm sorry it's like this. I pressed play again. The woman's voice continued. You know, darling, I've already found us an apartment in a new neighborhood. After the divorce, we'll move in together immediately. We'll just have to wait until you settle everything with Rachel. Don't worry, Sarah, Mike replied in a tone so tender he hadn't used with me in about 3 years. I've thought it all through. I'll put the apartment in my mom's name, supposedly sell the car to a friend. And the bills? Almost all of them are already transferred offshore. Rachel will only be left with credit debts. She's strong and independent, she'll manage. Laughter. They were laughing. Laughing at how cleverly they were going to deceive me. I felt something rise inside me, not hurt, not sorrow, but pure rage. Years of marriage, years I had been building our home, our family, supporting his business, working like a maniac so he could grow his company. And this was the result: cheating and a plan to strip me of everything. Rachel, what are you doing? Lily asked, alarmed, as I stood up abruptly and began packing my bag. I'm going to the Economic Crimes Division, I said firmly. I know an investigator, Gregory. He'll help me. That couple will regret ever crossing me. Lily jumped up. I'm coming with you. I won't let you go alone in this state. I nodded gratefully. True friends reveal themselves in times of trouble. As we hurried down the stairs, the elevator, of course, wasn't working. I was racing through plans in my mind. Mike really was leaving tomorrow on a business trip to another city. I had bought the tickets myself. That meant I had time. Time to destroy their perfect plan and teach them a lesson they would never forget. At the office, a young lieutenant with a tired face met us. I need Investigator Gregory Smith, I said firmly. It's urgent, about an economic crime. The lieutenant reluctantly dialed an internal number. Gregory, someone's here. What's her name? Rachel Wright. Says it's urgent. 5 minutes later, Gregory emerged into the hall, a large man in his 50s, with a kind face and attentive eyes. We had met a year ago when I helped his wife choose curtains for their new apartment. I'm an interior designer, and Olivia Griffin had been very pleased with my work. Rachel, what happened? You look pale. I handed him the recorder. Please, listen. My husband is planning a divorce and seems to be trying to leave me with nothing. Gregory frowned, took the recorder, and gestured toward his office. Let's go inside. Lily, you come too, don't hesitate. The office smelled of coffee and old papers. Gregory turned on the recorder, and the three of us listened in silence. The investigator's expression grew darker with each passing moment. When the recording ended, he leaned back in his chair and rubbed the bridge of his nose. So, offshore accounts, transferring property. This is serious. Rachel, are you aware of your husband's financial affairs? Partially, I admitted. He owns a construction company, Stroy Garrett. I helped him with design projects but never got involved in the accounting. I know business is going well. Last month, we got a big government contract to build a kindergarten. A government contract? Gregory perked up. That changes things. If he's funneling money from a government contract offshore, that's a crime. But we'll need stronger evidence than just this recording. Lily, who had been silent until now, suddenly spoke. What if Rachel goes to his office under some pretext? Like bringing lunch or picking up documents. Maybe she can find something. Gregory shook his head. No, that's too risky. If he suspects anything. Rachel, do you have access to his work computer at home? I nodded. Yes. He often works from home in the evenings, and I know the password. It's the same everywhere our wedding date. Hearing those words made my heart especially bitter. A wedding date is a password, and he's already planning a divorce. Here's what we'll do, Gregory said decisively. Tonight, when your husband falls asleep, try to copy files from his computer. Look for anything related to finances, transfers, contracts. And be careful. If he wakes up, just say you were looking for a recipe or something harmless. Meanwhile, I'll check into this Sarah. Do you know her last name? They didn't say it on the recording. I shook my head. That's fine, we'll find it, the investigator said confidently. The main thing, Rachel, is to hold yourself together. And act normally. Don't let him suspect anything. He leaves tomorrow. Yes. The flight is at 6 in the morning. Perfect. See him off like a loving wife, and then we act. Leave me your phone, I'll stay in touch. We left the office, and Lily hugged me tightly. Rachel, everything will be fine. That bastard will get what he deserves. Want me to come with you and wait in the car? No, thank you, darling. I need to be alone for a while, gather my thoughts. And thank you for everything. I don't know what I'd do without you. Don't mention it. What are friends for? Call me if anything. I'm always here. I got home around 7:30. Mike met me in the hallway with a smile. Rachel, why so late? I was starting to worry. An actor, I thought, looking into his dark brown eyes. What a perfect actor you are, darling. We stayed at the cafe with Lily, I lied easily. Have you eaten? No, I waited for you. Shall we order pizza? I don't want to bother you before my trip. A caring husband. I wondered if he was just as attentive with Sarah. I smiled. Let's order. And get the red wine I like. We need to see you off properly. Mike beamed. That's the right idea. I'll organize everything. While he ordered pizza, I changed clothes and carefully put on makeup. The mirror reflected a beautiful 32-year-old woman with light brown hair and green eyes. Could he really be bored with me? Could some Sarah really be better? I shook my head. There was no time to sulk. There was more important work to do than self-pity. Dinner was surprisingly pleasant. Mike talked about the upcoming business trip, meetings with partners, and new projects. I listened attentively, nodded, and laughed at his jokes. After the second glass of wine, he relaxed completely. You know, Rachel, sometimes I think, maybe we should have a child? We've been together so many years, it's time. He talks about having a child while already looking for an apartment with his mistress. I nearly choked on my wine but pulled myself together. Mike, let's discuss it after your trip. This is a serious decision. You're right, as always. He covered my hand with his. I love you. You know that? I know, I whispered, looking into his eyes. And added silently, I know you're lying, you bastard. By 11, Mike began to yawn. That's it, time for bed. Early start tomorrow. I also pretended to be tired. You're right. Go ahead, I'll do the dishes and come to bed. Leave it, you'll do it in the morning, he waved and went to the bedroom. I waited until his steady breathing came from the bedroom. Mike always fell asleep quickly and slept deeply. That worked in my favor tonight. Quietly, I slipped into the office and turned on his laptop. The password worked our wedding date, February 15th, 2012. Such a damn romantic. The desktop was cluttered with files and folders. I plugged in a flash drive and began methodically copying everything that seemed important: finance, contracts, transfers, personal. The last folder caught my attention the most. I opened it and nearly screamed. Photos. Dozens of photos of Mike with a young blonde woman. On the beach, in a restaurant, in bed. So that's who you are, Sarah. Beautiful, no doubt about it. About 25, maybe younger. Model-like figure, Barbie doll face. No wonder Mike fell for her. In one of the photos, they were standing in front of an office building, and I saw the sign, Sarah's Beauty Salon. And Sarah. It all made sense. Copying took almost an hour. I froze several times, listening. Had Mike woken up? But from the bedroom came only his snoring. Finally, all the necessary files were on the flash drive. I shut down the computer and tiptoed back to the bedroom. Mike was asleep on his back, arms spread out. So familiar, so close, and yet so distant. In the morning, I got up before him and made breakfast: eggs with bacon, toast, coffee. Mike appeared in the kitchen, fresh and cheerful. Wow, what a feast. Thanks, honey. You're welcome. Have you packed your suitcase? Of course. You know I always pack in advance. Of course, I know. Just like everything else. Now I know. We had breakfast, and I drove him to the airport. At the entrance to the departure area, Mike hugged me. I'll miss you. Call me if anything comes up. I will, I promised. Good luck, darling. He kissed me and went to the check-in counter. I watched him walk away and thought, this is the last time I see him off as his wife. Next time, we'll meet in court. From the airport, I went straight to Gregory. He was waiting for me in his office with a young colleague. The man introduced himself as Alex, a cybercrime specialist. I handed over the flash drive, and they dived into examining the files. Half an hour later, Gregory whistled. Rachel, this is a goldmine. Double bookkeeping, offshore accounts, illegal VAT schemes. Your husband is breaking every rule in the book. What about the assets? I asked. Alex turned his laptop toward me. Look. Here's a gift deed for an apartment in his mother's name, dated in the future. Here's a preliminary car sale contract. Buyer some Charles Cooper. Judging by the correspondence, a front man. And here's the most interesting part: large transfers to Sarah Miller's account. That's presumably your rival, Sarah Miller. Now I knew her full name. What can we do? I asked. Gregory leaned back in his chair. A lot. First, we block all these deals. They haven't been finalized yet. Second, we file a request to audit your husband's company finances. Third, do you want to put on a little show? I looked at him, surprised. A show? Yes. Your husband thinks you know nothing. So let's play along. Alex, can you set up a wiretap on his phone? Legally? I clarified. Of course, through the court. Gregory nodded. We have enough grounds. Alex nodded too. No problem. Everything will be ready by tonight. And what should I do? I asked. Live your normal life. Go to work, meet friends. And most importantly, if your husband calls, act as if nothing's wrong. Let him think his plan is working. Meanwhile, we'll gather enough evidence to make sure he goes away for a long time. I left the office with a strange feeling. On one hand, it was terrifying my life was falling apart before my eyes. On the other hand, I felt the thrill of a hunter tracking its prey. Mike and Sarah would soon regret trying to deceive me. In the evening, Lily called. "So, how are things going?" "Fine. The investigator says we have good chances. Tomorrow I'm going to the beauty salon." "The salon? Why?" "I want to see this Sarah." "Sarah's beauty salon. I've heard of it. Expensive place. I went there once and nearly went broke." "Want me to come with you?" "Sure. Let's meet there at 2 o'clock. The next day began with a call from Mike. "Rachel, I landed safely. Already met with the partners. Big dinner tonight. How are you?" "Everything's fine, darling. Working on a new project. Good girl. Well, I gotta go. Kisses." "Kisses? Interesting. Are you kissing Sarah on the phone too?" I opened my laptop and immersed myself in work. I needed to finish the design project for a country house for a family. Lovely people. Unlike some others. At 2 o'clock, I met Lily at the entrance to the Eliza Salon. A glass and chrome building, expensive cars in the parking lot. Yep, Sarah was no ordinary girl. We went inside and were greeted by a receptionist. "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" "We'd like to book a manicure," I said. "With which specialist? Whom would you recommend?" The receptionist smiled. "I can offer Karina or Paula. They are our best specialists. Though, if you want something exclusive, the owner herself sometimes sees clients. But Sarah's schedule is very busy." "Bingo. Can we get her?" "My friend specifically recommended her. Let me check." "Oh, you're lucky. She has an opening in an hour." "Book it?" "Yes, of course." 4-2. Lily and I settled in the waiting area with coffee and magazines. "Rachel, are you sure?" My friend whispered. "What if she recognizes you?" "Why would she? We've never met." "Mike hit her like a gorilla. But she might have seen your photos." "Maybe. So what?" "I'm a client. Came for a manicure. Everything's legal." An hour later, we were invited into the office. Sarah Miller looked exactly like in the photos. Young, beautiful, well-groomed platinum blonde with a perfect figure and cold blue eyes. "Good afternoon, ladies, please sit. What design shall we do?" Lily and I exchanged glances. "Something delicate," I said. Sarah nodded and got to work. She was a true professional, that I had to admit. While she worked, I studied the office, expensive furniture, paintings on the walls, and on the desk. On the desk was a framed photo. Sarah with a man. But not Mike, some gray-haired gentleman, about 60. Beautiful couple. I nodded toward the photo. Sarah smiled. "Thank you. That's my husband, Derek. He helped me open the salon." "Husband?" I nearly jerked my hand back. "So, Sarah was married. How long have you been married?" Lily asked casually. 3 years already. Derek is a wonderful man, owns a chain of pharmacies. True, there's a big age difference, but that doesn't matter when you love someone. Love. Right. And what about my husband then? Exercise? I bit my tongue to avoid saying too much. The rest of the session went with small talk. Sarah turned out to be quite chatty. She talked about plans to expand the salon, a trip to Dubai, a new car her husband gave her. Porsche Cayenne, white. A dream, not a car. While paying, I accidentally dropped. And my husband is always traveling for work. Right now, he's here in the city. Sarah didn't flinch a muscle. Yes, men are always on the road. Mine travels a lot too. One has to entertain oneself. Friends, shopping, fitness, and lovers, I added silently. Outside, Lily exhaled. Married, and she's hitting on your Mike. Looks like they have a whole club of shared interests, I said grimly. He rents her an apartment, transfers money, and she has a rich husband. Maybe write to her husband? Lily suggested. No, too early. Let Gregory handle his part first. That evening, the investigator called. Rachel, we have news. The wiretap is working. We've already recorded some interesting things. Your husband called a certain Sarah. They discussed meeting after his return. He also called his accountant, asking to speed up a transfer. We blocked those transfers, but he doesn't know yet. And next? The best part is next. He's coming back tomorrow, right? Evening flight? Yes. Perfect. Greet him as usual. The day after. We'll pay a visit to his office with a search warrant. I hung up and thought. Everything was going according to plan, but for some reason I felt a pang of sadness. 10 years of life. And this is how it ends. Searches, court, confrontations. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto the balcony. The city was glowing with lights. Life went on. And my life would go on too. Just without Mike. Without his lies and betrayal. The next day, I worked on the project again. They wanted a house in the Provençal style, bright, cozy, with large windows and a terrace. I sketched designs and thought, what kind of house do I want? Maybe a small studio apartment or a country cottage. Either way, there will be no place for traitors. Mike called from the airport. Rachel, I'm boarding the plane. Will you meet me? Of course, darling. How did the negotiations go? Excellent. Signed the contract. We'll celebrate. He'll be celebrating in the detention center, I thought, but said aloud. Good job. I'll be waiting for you. I arrived at the airport on time. Mike emerged from the arrivals hall smiling and relaxed. 3 days with his mistress had clearly done him good. Although, wait, he was in the city. Or not, darling. He hugged me and kissed me. I missed you so much. Me too, I lied. Let's go home. I've made dinner. At home, Mike went straight to the shower while I checked his phone. He had left it on the nightstand. 3 missed calls from Sarah, 5 from the accountant. SMS from his mother, son, when will you come to sign the documents? So, they had already arranged the apartment. I quickly photographed the messages and returned the phone. At dinner, Mike was unusually lively. You know, Rachel, I'm thinking of taking a vacation. We haven't traveled anywhere together in a long time. Sounds tempting, I nodded. Let's discuss it after the holidays. Discuss? We just need to go. Life's short, we have to try everything. Try everything? You mean Sarah, I smiled. You're right. By the way, I was at the salon today, got a manicure. Mike nearly choked on his wine. At Eliza's? And how was it? Great salon. Expensive, yes, but the staff is good. The owner did mine herself. Sarah so young. Mike went pale, then flushed. Eh? And what is she? A lovely woman. Married. Her husband gave her the salon. Said they went to Dubai on vacation. I watched my husband closely. He was clearly uncomfortable. Well, good that you liked it. Maybe you'll go there again? Maybe. Though very expensive, $200 for a manicure. The rest of the evening passed in tense silence. Mike made a few work calls, as he said, and went to bed early. I stayed in the living room with my laptop, pretending to work. In reality, I was messaging Gregory. He informed me that the search would take place at 10 a.m. tomorrow. In the morning, Mike got up early and got ready for the office. Rachel, I'll be at work all day. Don't wait for me for lunch. Okay, darling. Have a good day. He kissed me on the cheek and left. I watched him go and leaned against the doorframe. The show begins. At 9:30, Gregory called. Rachel, we're on our way. I advise you to be nearby. Your presence may be required. I'll be at the cafe across the street, I replied. I quickly got dressed and drove to Mike's office. Settled by the window in a cafe, I ordered coffee and waited. Right at 10 o'clock, 3 cars pulled up to the building. From them, people in uniforms and plain clothes poured out. At least 20. They entered swiftly, and within minutes my phone exploded with calls. Rachel. Mike's voice trembled with fury and fear. What's going on? They're searching my office. They're saying something about financial fraud. I feigned shock. A search? For what? I don't know anything. Get here right now. I finished my coffee and walked to the office unhurriedly. Security was at the entrance, but they let me through. Gregory had arranged it. The reception area was in chaos. Employees whispered nervously, Mike's secretary sobbed loudly, and from his office came raised voices. I stepped inside and froze at the scene. Mike sat on the couch, pale as a sheet. Next to him, his lawyer, whom he'd apparently managed to call. Investigators methodically seized documents, computers, folders. Gregory directed the process. Take this as well. And this. What's in that safe? Rachel. Mike jumped up when he saw me. Tell them this is a mistake. I walked over and took his hand. Mike, what's happening? What are they accusing you of? Gregory turned to me. Rachel, are you the suspect's wife? Yes, I nodded. Your husband is suspected of tax evasion, offshore transfers, and fraud involving government contracts. Lies. Mike shouted. I'm an honest businessman. The investigation will determine that, Gregory replied calmly. Mike, open the safe, please. I don't have to. You do. We have a court order. Either you open it, or we break it open. Mike glanced at his lawyer. The man nodded. Grinding his teeth, Mike approached the safe and entered the code. Inside stacks of cash, some documents, and a flash drive. What's this? The investigator asked. Work files, Mike muttered. We'll check. At that moment, the door burst open, and Sarah swept in tight dress, stilettos, Chanel purse. Mike, what's happening? I got a call, they said. Your office is being searched. She froze when she saw me. And you are? I'm Mike's wife, I said evenly. Rachel. And you, sorry, are. Sarah faltered but quickly regained composure. I'm Mike's business partner. Sarah Miller, owner of the Eliza Salon. Oh, so you're the one who did my manicure yesterday? I exclaimed. Small world. I had no idea you worked with my husband. Mike turned green. Sarah opened her mouth, then shut it again. Gregory watched with interest. Sarah, what a coincidence. We have some questions for you as well. In the past 6 months, your account has received large transfers from the company Stroigeret. Can you explain what for? Payment for a design project. Sarah blurted out. Mike commissioned the design of his new office. Office design for $15,000? The investigator arched a brow. Must be quite an office. Do you have a contract, sketches, estimates? Sarah glanced at Mike helplessly. He clenched his jaw in silence. The documents are at the salon, she mumbled. Perfect. You'll come with us to collect them, Gregory nodded and signaled an officer. Escort Sarah. Mike. Sarah rushed toward my husband. Shut up, you fool. He barked. Lawyer, do something. The lawyer spread his hands. Mike, I advise you to cooperate with the investigation. It's in your best interest. Just then, Sarah's phone rang. She answered absent-mindedly. Yes, Derek. What? No, I'm in the city, with a friend. A search? Her face turned chalk white. Yes, I'll come right away. She muttered, lowering the phone. They're searching our house too. Derek is furious. Mike shot to his feet. This is all a setup. Competitors. They want to destroy me. Mike, Gregory said tiredly, calm down. The more you shout, the worse it looks. Come with us to the station, and we'll discuss everything calmly there. I'm not going anywhere without my lawyer. Of course. Bring him along. Rachel, Gregory turned to me, you'll need to come as well. We'll need your statement. Of course, I nodded. Don't worry, Mike. If you're innocent, the truth will come out. He looked at me with such hatred that I involuntarily stepped back. You set this up, didn't you? Me? I was astonished. Mike, what are you talking about? How could I possibly have set this up? I don't know, but I can feel it. You went to her salon on purpose. Mike, enough, the lawyer intervened. You're going to say too much. Rachel, wait for your husband at home. I'll keep you informed. I obediently nodded and left the office. In the reception area, the employees were still crowded together. When they saw me, they stepped aside, staring with pity and curiosity. Outside, Lily was waiting for me. I had texted her when this whole spectacle began. Well? She rushed up to me. They took Sarah too. Turns out she's married, and her husband's place got searched as well. No way. That's a twist. Let's go to my place, I asked. I don't want to be alone. At home, I made tea and told my friend all the details. Lily listened with her mouth open. Rachel, this is literally a ready-made TV drama. So what now? Now we wait. Gregory said, the case is serious. Mike is facing prison time. And you? Me? Divorce. And hopefully a fair division of property. Though after all his schemes, there may not be much left to divide. In the evening, the lawyer called. Rachel, your husband will remain in custody for now. Tomorrow the court will decide on preventive measures. I'm afraid the news isn't good. The investigation has serious evidence. In the worst case, he's facing up to 10 years. But if he cooperates, admits guilt, and compensates damages, there's a chance for a suspended sentence. I thanked him and hung up. 10 years. Mike could get 10 years. Strangely, I felt neither joy nor satisfaction. Only emptiness and relief. It was over. The lies, the fear, the doubts all behind me. The next day I came to court. The courtroom was full, relatives, journalists. The case promised to be high profile: a well-known businessman, government contracts, a mistress. Mike was brought and handcuffed. In one night, he looked exhausted, shadows under his eyes. When he saw me, he turned away. The judge read the charges. The list was impressive, from basic tax evasion to kickbacks on government contracts. The prosecutor demanded arrest. The lawyer argued for a travel ban. Considering the seriousness of the charges and the risk of evidence being concealed, the judge said, the court rules to keep the preventive measure as custody unchanged. Mike was led away. Leaving the courtroom, I ran into his mother. Cindy, always so majestic and arrogant, now looked pitiful, disheveled, tear-stained. This is all your fault. She rushed at me. You ruined my son. Cindy, I'm not guilty of your son being a thief and a fraud. How dare you? He wanted a better life for you. He wanted a better life for his mistress. And he planned to leave me with debts. You knew about Sarah, didn't you? And about the apartment he was signing over to you? Cindy turned pale. I don't know anything. You do. And now you'll have to return that property. So get ready. I walked past her and stepped outside. Lily was waiting at the entrance. So, arrested? Now we wait for trial. Let's get coffee, you look pale. At the cafe, I finally let the tears flow. I cried for a long time, burying my face in Lily's shoulder. I didn't cry for Mike, I cried for my broken life, for 10 wasted years. Rachel, enough now, my friend stroked my head. You're amazing, you're strong. Everything's going to be fine, you'll see. The following weeks flew by in constant worries. I filed for divorce and hired a good lawyer for the property division. It turned out Mike had run up debts of tens of millions. He took loans in the company's name, secured by our shared property. Fortunately, we managed to keep the apartment. The donation deal was ruled invalid. The car was also returned. But the bank accounts were nearly empty. Mike had already transferred most of the money. Sarah suffered as well. Her husband, upon learning about the affair, filed for divorce and kicked her out. Her salon was seized as property obtained through crime. I saw her once in the courthouse corridor. The former beauty looked like a beaten dog. Catching my gaze, she quickly turned away. Mike's trial took place 3 months later. I attended. I had to testify. My now ex-husband sat behind bars, unshaven, in a prison uniform. It was hard to believe this was the same successful businessman who, not long ago, had been making grandiose plans. The sentence, 7 years in a general regime colony. It could have been worse, but the lawyer did his job. And Mike, in the end, admitted guilt and made a deal with the investigation. When they were leading him out, he looked at me. His eyes held no hatred, only fatigue and something like regret. But it was too late. After the trial, Gregory approached me. Rachel, you're incredible. Not every woman would have had the courage to take this step. Thank you for everything. Without you, I wouldn't have managed. It's my job. Still. Olivia Griffin sends her regards. She said, come visit us. And she also mentioned that her nephew has a country house. He's looking for a designer for renovations. If you're interested, I can give you his contacts. I smiled. Thank you. I'd be glad to take on a new project. Life went on, and I needed to move forward. A year passed. I was sitting in my new studio apartment, small but cozy, decorated in my favorite Scandinavian style. After selling the old apartment and paying off part of Mike's debts, I didn't have much left, but it was enough for this studio. And I was happy. This was my home. Mine alone. Business was slowly picking up. The project for Olivia's nephew turned out great. He recommended me to his friends, and new orders started coming in. I even hired an assistant, a cheerful girl named Gwen, fresh out of college. The doorbell rang. On the threshold stood Lily with a bottle of champagne. Happy birthday, my friend. I laughed. You were supposed to come tonight. Couldn't wait? I've got news. She burst into the apartment and blurted out, I'm getting married. What? To who? Lily, you didn't tell me anything. Remember I went to that corporate party a month ago? That's where I met him. His name is Clint, he's a programmer. Rachel, he's just so real. No showing off, no lies. Yesterday he proposed simple, no big show. He said, let's get married, I'm tired of sleeping at different apartments. I hugged my friend. Congratulations. When's the wedding? In 2 months. Rachel, you'll be my maid of honor. Of course. Don't even doubt it. We sat on the couch and opened the champagne. To you, Lily raised her glass, to surviving that nightmare and becoming even stronger. To us, I replied. To true friendship. That evening I had a party, a small celebration with my closest friends. Among the guests was Ben, Olivia's nephew. Tall, calm, with kind brown eyes. We had worked on his house for almost 2 months, and during that time we became friends. Rachel, he came up to me with a glass. I want to thank you. The house turned out amazing. My wife is thrilled. I was surprised. Wife? I thought you weren't married. He blushed. It was a surprise. We got married last week. Quietly, no guests. Katia doesn't like noisy parties. Congratulations, I said sincerely. I wish you happiness. Thank you. And happiness to you too, Rachel. You deserve it. He clinked glasses with me and went over to the other guests, while I remained standing by the window, looking at the night city. A year ago, on this very day, I had discovered my husband's betrayal. And here I was now free, independent, surrounded by friends. Not everything had gone as I once dreamed, but I had made it through, and that was what mattered. A week later, I got a call from an unfamiliar woman. Rachel, my name is Nancy. I represent the design studio Interior Plus. We've heard about your work and would like to discuss cooperation. Could you come in for a meeting? The studio turned out to be large, 3 floors in a business center, about 30 employees. Nancy, the director, a woman in her 40s with intelligent eyes, got straight to the point. Rachel, I saw your project. This is exactly what we need. A fresh perspective, unconventional solutions. We'd like to offer you the position of lead designer with a salary of. She named a figure that took my breath away. Plus a percentage from projects. What do you say? I hesitated. On the one hand, this was an opportunity. On the other, I had only just started building my own business. Can I think about it for a couple of days? Of course, but don't delay. Good specialists are rare, and there's plenty of competition. That evening I discussed the offer with Lily and Gwen. Take it. My assistant urged passionately. That kind of money, and the experience you'll gain. But what about your independence? Lily objected. You always dreamed of your own business. I could do both, I mused aloud. A main job at the studio, and in the evenings and weekends my own projects. You'll burn out, my friend shook her head. But I'll earn enough for my dream, my own big studio. In the end, I agreed, and I didn't regret it. Working at a large studio gave me invaluable experience, large-scale projects, well-known clients, new technologies. Most importantly, I met incredible people. My colleagues became like a second family. I especially bonded with Catherine, the studio's art director. She was 35, divorced, and raising her 7-year-old son, Justin. You know, she once told me over lunch, I get you. I went through a divorce too. My husband ran off with his secretary. Cliché, nauseatingly so. And how did you cope? Work. I worked like crazy, just to stop thinking. And then one day I woke up and realized, I'm happy. Happy without him. That's it. Another 6 months passed. Lily's wedding was joyful and touching. Clint really turned out to be a wonderful guy, no arrogance, but with a great sense of humor. Watching the way they looked at each other, I believed they would be fine. At the wedding, I met Alex, a friend of the groom, the owner of a small IT company. Nothing special, we just struck up a conversation at the table, laughed at the games, danced a couple of times. He wasn't handsome, an ordinary face, light brown hair, glasses, but his eyes. When he laughed, little sparks danced in them. May I have your number? He asked at the end of the evening. I'd like to keep in touch. I gave it. Why not? He called 2 days later. Rachel, would you like to go to the theater? I have an extra ticket. Why extra? Because I bought two, hoping you'd say yes, he admitted honestly. I agreed. The play was wonderful. Afterwards, we walked around the evening city, talking about everything under the sun. Alex was well-read, interesting to talk to. And, most importantly, he knew how to listen. You know, he said, we were walking to my place. I'm glad we met. It's been a long time since I met someone so genuine. We started seeing each other without rush, without overwhelming passion. Just two adults who enjoyed being together, theaters, exhibitions, walks in the park. Alex didn't pressure me, didn't push things forward. He was very tactful. He never once asked about my ex-husband, though I was sure Lily had told him something. And then something unexpected happened. Cindy, my former mother-in-law, called. Rachel, I need to talk to you. It's important. We met in a cafe. She had aged a lot in those 2 years, gray hair, wrinkles, a faded look. Mike is in the hospital, she said without preamble. Doctors say he needs surgery, an expensive one. I have no money left. Spent it all on lawyers, and I had to sell the apartment to pay debts. I was silent. What could I say? Cindy leaned forward. I know you never forgave him. And you were right not to. He's guilty. But he's not a stranger to you. You lived 10 years together. Cindy, what do you want from me? Help. Not me, him. I know it's shameless to ask, but there's no one else. That girl Sarah disappeared long ago. His friends turned their backs. It's just us left, you and me. I looked at this broken woman and didn't know what to feel. Anger, pity, indifference. How much do you need? I asked. She named a sum large, but not impossible. I had that kind of money. I'll think about it, I said, standing up. I'll call you tomorrow. At home I sat for a long time on the balcony, staring into the dark. To help the man who had tried to rob me, betrayed me, deceived me, nearly destroyed me. On the other hand, it was a matter of life and death. And besides, I wouldn't be helping him, but myself, so that I wouldn't later torment myself. I could have saved him, and I didn't. In the morning I called Cindy. I'll pay for the surgery. But this is the last thing I'll ever do for your son. Don't call me again. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you, Rachel. You're a saint. I'm not a saint. I just don't want someone's death even is on my conscience. When I told Alex about this, he shook his head. You're amazing. Not many would do what you did. I'm not amazing, just foolish, I replied. No, he took my hand. Kind. And I'm very glad you're in my life. The surgery was successful. Mike survived, but couldn't return to prison. He was granted disability and released for health reasons. I heard about it from acquaintances. I never asked myself. That chapter was closed, and life went on. The studio was thriving. I became a co-owner. Nancy offered me to buy the share of a partner who was retiring. I postponed my dream of running a big independent business. Why compete with myself? After a year of dating, Alex and I moved in together. No fuss. He was staying over more and more often, and at some point we decided, it's silly to pay for 2 apartments, we both said at the same time. So we rented a nice 3-bedroom place and set it up together. It turned out we lived wonderfully side by side. We both loved quiet, order, and long conversations over tea. Rachel, he said one evening, let's get married. I almost dropped my cup. Alex, why? We're fine as we are. Because I want to wake up next to you not just like this, but as my wife. I want you to carry my name. That's old-fashioned. Yes, darling, old-fashioned. I smiled and, after a moment's thought, added, let's just skip the big fancy wedding. All right, whatever you say. The main thing is you said yes. We signed the papers quietly. Just the closest people. Lily cried tears of joy. Her Clint clapped Alex on the shoulder. Catherine and Justin gave us funny gifts. Little Justin, by the way, announced, Aunt Rachel, you're now, like my mom, the most beautiful bride. Everyone laughed, and I secretly wiped away a tear. The honeymoon. A week in Montenegro. The sea, mountains, little cozy towns. We wandered through narrow streets, drank young wine in taverns, watched sunsets. Happy? Alex asked, holding me on the balcony of our hotel room. Very, I answered. And it was true. 2 more years passed. A Sunday morning. Alex and I were having breakfast in the kitchen. Outside, spring, the sun filling the room. I was flipping through a design magazine. He was reading the news on his tablet. Silence. Comfort. Peace. Rachel, look, Alex handed me the tablet. A small news piece in the incidents section. Former businessman Mike hospitalized with a heart attack. The man was found in a rented apartment. I skimmed the text and handed the tablet back. I feel sorry for him. Sorry? Alex repeated. After everything he did to you. I added. That's exactly why I feel sorry. He was a successful man, had everything, and lost it all because of greed and foolishness. Alex was quiet for a moment, then said, You know, sometimes I think if he hadn't been exposed, you and I would never have met. So, in a way, I'm grateful to him. I laughed. Paradoxical gratitude. Why not? Nothing in life is random. Bad things lead to good things. You just have to wait it out. He was right. Mike's betrayal, which nearly broke me, had ultimately made me stronger. I found myself, built a career, met true love while he was left in the past, like a bad dream that fades more and more with time. What are you thinking about? Alex covered my hand with his. About how strangely everything turns out. Remember I told you, it all started with that recorder on the wardrobe? I remember. Your friend was brave to do that. Yes, Lily is a true friend. By the way, she called yesterday. They're having a baby. That's wonderful. We'll have to pick out a good gift. We sat at the table for a long time, talking about our friend's news, making vacation plans, dreaming about the future. An ordinary morning of an ordinary family. And it was perfect, just living, loving, being loved without drama, without betrayal, without recorders hidden on wardrobes. Although, come to think of it, I'm grateful for that recorder, to Lily, and even to Mike with his Sarah, because thanks to them I am here, in my real life, with my real happiness. And you know what? It was worth it. All the tears, the pain, the fears, it was all worth it, just to one day wake up and realize, I'm home. I'm where I belong. I'm happy and I need nothing more.